Hi, I'm Jake Deere and I'm taking over today's podcast. Share plans are one of the most celebrated ways for companies to reward their top talent and retain staff. That's why today we held a special event in London which welcomed some award winning companies to talk about their share plan successes in front of a live audience. For this episode, I've managed to persuade one of the guest speakers from this morning's event, Andy Martin from the insurance company Admiral, to join me for a coffee and talk through his journey in share plans. And his team also won the award for Best Overall Performance in Fostering Employee Share Ownership at the 2023 ProShare Awards. So I'm going to see if he can share some insights on how share plans can help companies and their employees achieve positive outcomes. I'm looking forward to this one, so let's get straight into our conversation. So thank you, Andy, for spending some time with me today. Obviously, we're going to be talking about all things employee share plans. But to start, could you tell us a bit about yourself and what's brought you to where you are today?
So my name is Andy Martin. I'm the Group Share Plans Manager for Admiral Group, which people will know from car insurance. We do a number of other insurance-based products, and more recently we've gone into loans as well. I joined Admiral about 13 years ago. I was literally selling insurance on the phones. I went into management, popped across to group training. Then I did a bit of coding. I was an analyst for a while. So I've really gotten about, which is, I think, a beauty of Admiral, that you do get, if you want to try new things, they'll train you and guide you through. And then more recently, jumped into the share schemes world. So absolutely loving it. I've been doing this job for about 3 years now. It is a passion of mine. So forgive me if I go on and on about it, but I do love it. It's because I believe in it, really. And that's quite a common thing in Admiral. I think, because we really celebrate it, we get everybody involved. So if you speak to any kind of Admiral employee, they'll generally tell you about the share schemes.
Brilliant. And, for the benefit of our audience, would you be able to share an explanation about what a share plan is in a way that you'd maybe tell a family member or a friend that knows nothing about shares? So very high level, simple explanation.
Right. So I would say it's like getting a piece of a puzzle. So I've said this to numerous people, actually in pubs. So if you imagine then, like, a share is like a piece of a puzzle, and the overall puzzle is the company. And you own that piece, and it's not complete without it. It doesn't look right. So at Admiral, obviously, we want to make sure that everybody is involved in, like, our direction, our culture, and that you get a say in driving our future, essentially. So we have 3 share awards. This is how we run our share incentive plan, most commonly referred to as a SIP in terms of acronym. So this was introduced by the government. It is a UK product that companies can use to reward their employees. It's become more and more common because the benefits are so great in terms of, like, motivation, talent retention, and other things, which I'll come to momentarily. But you'd be hard pushed to find a FTSE 100 company these days that doesn't have some form of share scheme. It might not be the same everywhere you go. You might get free awards, that as Admiral Group do. Other companies, if you listen to this and you've probably paid into a share save, or often referred to as a SAYE, or save as you earn. So that might be where, £50 or something is taken out of your pay packet each month, and you wait a few years and then you hopefully get some money back if everything's going great. We don't do that method, but what I'm saying is almost all of the kind of largest companies in the UK will have some form of share scheme going on. Now, we award the maximum that the government will allow us to award our employees within a year. So that's £3,600 per year. Unfortunately, it is important that there is a limit on these things, because essentially it's a tax-advantaged vehicle. So by getting involved in this scheme, if you hold the shares for 3 years, you can then sell them. There is tax at that point if you do so. But if you hold them for 5 years, then they become completely tax-free. Now, you don't have to sell them at 5 years. You can keep them for as long as you like, but they're tax-free. So naturally, with any kind of tax benefit vehicle, you've got to have caps in it. Otherwise, people could just throw hundreds of thousands into it, and the tax man wouldn't be happy. So it's a really fantastic way of rewarding our staff.
Yeah, and I guess that the way that Admiral uses a SIP is generally quite different to many companies. Many companies allow employees to make contributions into a share plan, whether that's a SIP or SAYE. But of course, Admiral just award
Yeah.
free shares, so every employee gets the maximum amount. I believe you split it over, a 6-month period, so half and half of
Yeah.
that full limit. And because of that, it's great. Last year, you won a ProShare Award for best overall performance in fostering employee share ownership. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And obviously today you presented to a live audience, talking around winning that award and your share plans. I mean, how did that go?
Yeah, today was brilliant. I don't do too many of these events. I'm trying to do slightly more, and I will after today because I loved it. But it's really good to obviously speak to people who are within the industry. They can, when you're talking about it, you see the nods because they understand like the trials and tribulations of running schemes and good ways of doing things, bad things, mistakes we've learned from. So I loved doing the event. I loved going to the ProShare Awards evening as well, and thanks to Link for assisting us and actually persuading us to put in an entry. But it's been really good. Like we do truly believe in the schemes. Like as I touched on a moment ago, there's so many benefits in terms of motivating staff to not just think about their kind of team or their department, but the company and the direction that it's going in. So it enables you to align staff goals with shareholder goals. Okay. And that is insanely powerful. Now, it also acts almost as a retention tool of talent as well, because you've got savings, you're bought into the company, so it's fantastic. But on the flip side, then it will encourage the company to grow profits sustainably, because obviously, if we're rewarding or remunerating our staff in shares, our share price naturally means a lot to us then, because if the share price plummets suddenly, then it's going to be messing with a lot of people's remuneration packages. So it means that our senior leaders and those who can really, make those key decisions at the very top are thinking long-term sustainability and stability, not short-term wins and volatility. So it really shapes the way our company is built, led, and the kind of culture within it as well. So anyway, I digress. Back to today's event. Yeah, it was really good. I've met some lovely people, and it was good to kind of sing about what we do best, but also learn from others, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. We heard from other speakers today who do things slightly differently to us, and it suits them. It works really well. So it's just good to think, oh, I'd not thought about doing it that way, and we'll look into it, and it might not be that's best for us, but by sharing best practice, it really means that I think across all these different companies that are here today, it opens up the possibilities to make things as good as they can possibly be for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I think today was a very insightful session. It's great engagement from everyone, giving their views from their companies of how they run schemes. From Admiral's perspective, definitely, I think share ownership amongst employees is a sort of treasured value. And speaking to you previously, there's been some examples you've given me of how that culture is embedded in Admiral. Some things like around dividend days, if you could give some examples of that culture at Admiral.
Yeah, it's huge. And we really push that because we enjoy it. Again, that leans into the fact that it's a free award. So it's not like a Save As You Earn where only people who can spare that £50 each month are getting involved in the scheme. Unless you opt out for whatever reason, you're going to be given these shares for free. So almost everybody that you see in the company is involved in the SIP scheme in some way, unless they've chosen not to be. And what that means is that you can kind of really drive, like when it comes to dividend day, you can send out a communication, you say, hey, let's all celebrate, and everyone's in the same boat. So everyone's waiting for it, and then, you might go out for a few beers that day or something like that, and you can kind of celebrate together as a team. And that's really, that's what you're trying to create, like one company driving forward in a direction. So yeah, you'll always, when it comes to like a maturity date, you'll always see some wild and wonderful purchases that people have gone out and done. It's made a real impact on my own personal life. Like my shares, when I've sold them, because they've matured, they've paid for, well, when I was a young lad, they got me out of debt, they cleared my overdraft. And then as I grew older, then that was my deposit on my house. It, paid for the venue for my wedding. Don't get me wrong, I had to save up. But yeah, I don't know about you, but even today, no matter how much I earn, I am a bit of a hand to mouth kind of guy. I struggle to save each month. I'll transfer some money across into an account, and then by the end of the month, I've taken it back out because I need it. I've got the right intentions, but it's not the easiest thing to do, especially in the world we're living in today, in the kind of economic situation. So having these schemes that, you're getting given shares, it's happening in the background. You don't have to do anything other than stay employed. And, at some point in the future, you're going to get this lump of money. It's just incredible because it acts as a saving vessel for staff. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you saying some examples. You might have new trainers, you might have someone that would be buying new cars.
Yeah.
I know when we was looking at submitting that award, we've done some analysis, because I believe Admiral started the free shares in 2005 or 6.
Yes.
And there were some people that had actually never sold their shares, and then they had their dividends paid, their dividends reinvested,
Yeah.
and now those people believe it was enough for a house, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's some serious money that these schemes.
We're not just talking about a deposit. We mean buying a house outright,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Like the average kind of house price. Think of it, is
Yeah.
in and around there. So, yeah, I mean that is music to my ears to hear. It's also horrifying because I've sold my shares, so I'm not seeing those gains. But it's testament to that sustainable growth that I mentioned at the start, because our share price, although it has the usual fluctuations of any share price, it has steadily kind of headed in quite a clear direction, which is upwards, and that kind of the proof is in the pudding there. So, yeah, you're making me feel like maybe I should stop selling my shares when they mature.
It's never too late. And what do you think makes a winning share plan offering?
Ooh. I would say, in my personal experience, what makes a winning share plan offering is commitment, accessibility, and education. Commitment in terms of, this is why we give the shares to as many people as possible. Not just with our SIP scheme, we also have a very generous executive scheme as well, which I won't go into now. But we really lean into the benefits. We don't just kind of have a little share scheme on the side and we say good things about it. We live and breathe it. And yeah, we really go for it with our schemes. Education is also, I think, a vital thing on this, because not everyone's into shares. I love it. But even my wife, she's not into it. I try and talk to her about it. She's not that interested because people find them technical. And with shares, a lot of the time, unless you're getting a dividend or having a vest, they're kind of ticking along in the background. You don't need to necessarily worry about them other than maybe 2 or 3 times a year when there's some kind of financial gain possibly to be made. And so it can be quite difficult to educate like the masses of a company on the ins and outs and technicalities of it, because some people just don't feel it. But I really feel strongly that you need to do it, because we said that one of the benefits of share schemes is motivation for staff, but I question how motivating is a share scheme if 90% of your staff don't know how it works, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you claim that? So it's vital that you're doing webinars, you're going out, you're doing road shows, you're communicating it, you're aligned with your senior leaders as well, so that you're all sending the same messages, timing your communications to like pertinent times. As you're coming up to your divvy day, are you talking about your dividend allowances and stuff like that, and ex-dividend dates. So yeah, I think you've really got to be on it if you want to feel the full benefits.
Yeah, and I guess the sort of benefit of Admiral doing free shares and having an almost 100% take up is that everyone gets the shares, so everyone's instantly interested. Sometimes it can be harder for other companies where free shares aren't offered, so they're relying on people understanding the schemes to then sign up to start contributing their own money. So yeah, free shares is a good gateway into a share plan. And finally, what does the future hold for you and your team at Admiral?
Improvements. Yeah, we've got a really big year ahead of us. Last year, we really consolidated in terms of our processes and just made things much slicker. I think the sign of a good shares team and a good share scheme within a company is almost not that you don't notice it, because as I said, we want to celebrate it, but you don't necessarily kind of have to contact them. It's almost like payroll. You only email payroll if something's gone wrong with your pay or something like that generally. So it's kind of like an unsung hero situation. And it's similar with the share schemes, you know. We want to make it so that it's as simple for you as possible. And we've got a whole host of things lined up this year, not just internally, but also with Link. I know there's a lot of kind of technological advances that we're going to be bringing in that we're super excited about. I won't say exactly what they are because I don't want to get people's hopes up, put my head on the chopping block. But yeah, it should be a fantastic 12 months. So watch this space.
Look forward to it. Thank you for your time, Andy.
No worries. Thanks.
And we wrapped up the conversation right about there. Some very interesting points raised, and I especially like the bit about each employee being part of the jigsaw at Admiral. If you'd like to find out more about Andy and his team at Admiral, I'll link their website in the description. I'll also leave some information about the team at Link Group, which you can access if you'd like to find out more about how we can help you achieve award-winning success. If you found this conversation useful, don't forget you can subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. That way you won't miss an upload. There's also a range of episodes available on this channel, which includes conversations with similar experts, which we hope that you find useful. Thank you for listening again. Until next time.